Hey, this is Nick and welcome to Borsellino Carpentry. So, doing a whole lot of projects at home because we're all stuck at home right now during this pandemic, and I got a lot of time on my hands, so I'm catching up on some stuff that I've been meaning to do for a while. So I've got this room that I've been working on. It was my old office, and we had moved everything out, and I worked on fixing the floor, and I'm putting new trim up, and I've got some holes in the walls here from where paintings were, and I hit a piece of subfloor when I was installing it into the wall. So if you can see this here, this subfloor gouged right into there. And then and up here there's a big hole. I had a really heavy painting and it kind of tore out. So basically in this video I'm just going to be showing how I go through and patch a hole like this that's not, if it was like a hole punched through the wall or something, there'd be a different process for this. So this is just for like imperfections in the surface and filling nail holes. So there's a bunch of different products you can use to do this. Today I'm going to be using regular joint compound, all-purpose joint compound. It's just easy to work with. You could use a product like this, like a wood patch if you had that, as long as it is paintable. I don't know if there's any that aren't really, but this is one I use a lot for trim work. If you can see, the trim work down here has nails in it, nail holes. So when I go around and do this trim later on, I will use something like Crack Shot, or this is Fast and Final. This is lightweight spackling. And this is more of a vinyl spackling paste. So this is generally, the can will be heavier than this because this is lightweight. And this is usually a little bit easier to sand, but they generally do the same thing. And these types of things say, 30-minute paint ready. So if you're doing little nail holes and stuff, that works fine. But because I've got that one bigger hole, I'm just gonna use joint compound. All right, so you can see the joint compound has some water sitting on top, and it's got a weird consistency, so I'm just gonna mix it up before I use it. Get all that water mixed back in. So I'm just gonna scoop some of this out into, I've got a little trowel thing. You could use, I don't know, like a Tupperware container or something, or just scoop it right out of here. A lot of times I'll even use another putty knife like that, and then use the smaller one to fill the holes. All right, so I don't know how well you can see this, but the indent is like that, where the piece of plywood hit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill the indent, make sure I get it all the way in there. Now you can kind of see where it was a little bit better. And that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put it in there, and then I'm gonna go across the other direction. Same thing with the nail head. I'm just gonna put it in and then go down. That's simple. Just don't play with it after that, and just leave it and let it dry. I've got a little schmegma up there. And so I'm just gonna do that around the room, then let it dry. And when it's dry, I'll be able to do a second coat. This one, I noticed the paint, the drywall, whatever, is kind of sticking out a little bit. You probably can't tell. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the back side of the putty knife, and I'm gonna put it on there, and I'm just gonna push it in and turn, and it's gonna indent that. So now to put the mud in, it has, there's an indent, so the mud has something to sit inside of. Because if I had just gone over that, it would have been higher, and then when you sand it, the paper would have come through. All right, so it's probably been about an hour since I coated this one deep patch, and you could see where it's white, it's dry, and then there's this dark spot, and that means it's still wet. And what will happen, you probably can't see it in the video, but as joint compound dries, it shrinks. So it's kind of like sunk in a little bit. And you can see here on this bigger hole, what happens is it not only does it sink in, but it starts to crack, which is why you coat everything twice. Now, if this was a bigger hole, I would be putting piece of drywall tape over this, but it wasn't deep enough that I really thought it needed that extra support. So all the small holes I patched, this is just a tiny little nail, so they're all pretty dry. After an hour, I could probably coat those again, but I'll wait until I do the other ones. Do them all at the same time. Okay, so I let this dry overnight, and it's indented a little bit. Yesterday I used a 4-inch putty knife. Today I'm gonna upgrade to a 6-inch, and that way I cover over everything that I did yesterday. Whenever doing a drywall patch, you always want your second patch to completely cover the first one. So that's exactly what I did yesterday. Just go across, and then back across, and that's it. Make sure it's all worked in there really good, and these deeper ones might need another one just in case this shrinks in a little bit, but usually 2 coats for nail heads is at least enough. So I'll go around the room and finish those and let this dry for a few hours and see how it looks. Okay, so that second one's dry. I just want to scrape it real quick and make sure there's no high spots sticking off. And one way I can check to see if there's a divot, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I can see just a little bit of space under there, which won't really be noticed to the naked eye, but I'm just gonna do one more quick coat just because. And I'm gonna do it very lightly so that it might actually leave a hump instead of it being divoted in, so I can sand it down. And then this one indented a little bit. Everything else I think in the room is pretty good. So I'll let those dry and then I'll sand. All right, I'm not sure how well you're gonna be able to see this or not, but I'm using a sanding sponge which is made for drywall, and it helps keep it very flat. And that's it. You just want to sand it down until the edges are feathered out and there's no sharp edges. And once I get down to where I can start to see the patch, you know, I'm starting to get down to the paint, so I'm taking it down, there's not a hump, and I know I'm good. And I also try to go in different directions so I don't like wear a groove in if I just repeat the same direction. So that's why I'm circles and back and forth and up and down. And I'll do that on all my patches around the room, and then do a little primer. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is just put a little of the wall paint on it as a primer. Just gonna wipe off any dust that might be on it. Now the reason I'm using wall paint is I'm changing the color over this when I do it. So by doing the wall paint, it'll be the same, the paint will act the same on the paint as the new paint, but if I put it right on the joint compound, it soaks in a little different, it tends to flash. Sometimes it could be a little shiny right there, so this will give it a uniform appearance. Normally I would use a small whiz roller, but I've got a whole bunch to do in here and I did some drywall patches, so I'm using the big roller just because I gotta do other stuff. So once this is dry, it's ready for wall paint, and that is how you fix a patch in a wall. A small patch, nail holes, stuff like that. Very simple. Now also, if this was your finish coat, you know, if this was just you were touching up, you could do this too, and you just fur this out a little farther and it blends right in. It wouldn't be perfect because old paint never matches new paint perfectly. So I would always recommend doing a second coat over top everything if you were just keeping the same color. Okay, so I let this dry overnight, and I can honestly not tell at all where the patch is. I mean, I'm like right on the wall and I cannot figure out where it was. Huh. Well, I guess that means it worked, huh? So let me bring it right in there. I mean, even on an angle, you can't see any dents or anything. So that is how I patch a wall. Again, it was somewhere right in here. I can see the new paint. There's kind of a little difference in color right here. So I know it was somewhere in this area, but it is completely gone, all right? So it's very simple to do. It doesn't take a lot of time, and you can have your walls back looking perfect again. Well, thanks for watching. I normally ask people to like and subscribe and everything, and of course, still do that, but if you think this could help someone else, give this a share on your Facebook page or something. Let people know how easy it is to do this, all right? Because the main reason I'm doing all these videos is to help everybody out there. You know, I know all this stuff already. I'm not doing this for my benefit, I'm doing it for your benefit. So, share it with the world, all right? Thanks for watching, have a great day.